Wow, way better role. Way better.
Like, love it. I was like, ready?
Okay. This is Haley. And this is Bailey. And you're listening to Text Me When You Land. We're back with another episode of Text Me When You Land. We were formerly Unleashed, and we are now Text Me When You Land. I am going to share my new news. I was thinking about this today, and it's like the most random thing, but I haven't watched Keeping Up with the Kardashian in a while, and Evan and I were talking about it. We have so many shows right now, but we were like, we kind of want to catch up. I feel like I always get that's like the one reality TV show we really get into, and then I feel like we talk about it, and I feel like we haven't talked about it because we're both
I know, I haven't watched it either. I haven't watched it since they're on a new or I don't know if they're not. I don't think it's airing right now, but it's like the new season, and then there was another season. I was in the middle of the other season before the new season.
Yeah, we're really behind. Like, we stopped before we went to Europe over summer.
I'm pretty sure we probably stopped around the same time because when you went to Europe, I went to Colorado, and my family doesn't watch that show. So and then all these other shows came out, and I was just like, I kind of want to watch that. And then you got me into Gilmore Girls, and man, I am in the heat.
Gilmore Girls
I'm almost done.
So long too, and we're really into Suits, and we're almost done there. We're like only a couple more episodes, but that took so long. We watched it every single night for so long.
How many seasons of Suits are there?
8, I think 8 or 9. I think maybe 9.
That's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, there's a
Holy
lot.
Crap. Yeah, Gilmore Girls. They don't make shows like that hefty anymore, and it's really sad. And especially because aren't they like an hour-long episodes?
Yeah, they're long, and there's like a lot in each season.
I love that. It's nice to have like all these new Netflix shows that are coming out are like 35, 40 minutes long, which I mean is okay. But then they're like 7 to 10 episodes long, and I'm like, can we have more, please? Like,
yeah, right.
Like rather than like Ginny and Georgia, 10 episodes. Can we just combine the two
or like
seasons?
Emily in Paris?
Emily in Paris, The Summer I Turned Pretty. That was like 7 or 6 episodes. I'm like, guys, come on, substance here. Like, let's keep. I just want to drag it on and drive it crazy.
Right? And like,
I just started season 7 of Gilmore Girls. I'm almost done, and I'm really
that's so exciting.
If you don't watch Gilmore Girls, I guess it's been out for years now.
I'm not gonna lie though, the ending.
Don't say anything. La 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 la.
I'm not gonna ruin it. I'm just gonna say it's not as like. I don't know. I just feel like even like that. How you're not on the after one, right? The reunion.
No, the year
series?
in the life. No.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you watch that one?
Yeah, I watched that too. But I just I don't know. I feel like if they both.
I've heard mixed opinions on both. I've heard it ends well, and I also heard it ends. I mean, I don't actually usually watch the last episode to a lot of shows because I get really sad, and so I'll skip it.
That would drive me crazy.
Like I just saw the last episode of Friends ever.
Oh my god, that's so sad.
A couple years ago. Like I didn't know that they had twins. I was like, oh really? What? Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea because it makes me sad. I'm like, no,
I know, I get that.
I start over.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Talking about Friends, that's what we're talking about today. So Haley, you want to start us?
Girls. Being a girl's girl. Are you a girl's girl, Bailey?
I don't know about that. I feel like maybe more now than I maybe ever have been.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a hard question. I don't know.
I think, how would you define a girl's girl?
I don't know. I feel like there's different ways to do it. Like a girly girl, where like how you dress and what you do, or like girl's girl, like all you like to do is like girls' nights, hang out with girls.
Yeah, like you have like a group of girls. You have a group text thread, like girls.
No, probably not. I definitely don't have a girl group. I have a girlfriend, a few girlfriends, but like all separate, not in a girl group. How about you?
Yeah, same. I mean, really, I don't have like a group. I've always been really amused by the people who have girls groups, and they look like fun, but sometimes I feel like it can often seem overwhelming to me because there's like a vibe and an aesthetic I feel like they follow, and I feel like there's pressure to it, but maybe that's because I'm not in it. And so maybe, I don't know, if you're a part of a girls group and you do like, I've seen those ones where they get together and they have like charcuterie nights or, pajama night or I don't know, they just do like really fun things and that looks great. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to do that stuff, but it just seems like there's a lot of girls there. And I'm like, how does that work?
Like, yeah, I think it depends where you're like, yeah, right. Like, are you all best friends? Like, I totally get that.
There's got to be someone who talks trash behind. I mean, you can't escape that stuff. And so I'm like, from me, in my experience, I've never been exposed to probably a healthy girls group. There's been a lot of toxicity involved, and I think that's why a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about girls and girls groups. And not to like, we've even talked about, we don't want girl bash here. That's not the point of this. And we put a poll out there to see what people's experiences were like. And
that's what I
I
was
don't
going to say.
know.
So interesting is you were saying like we don't want to bash, and it's not about being negative about girls, because I think it's great to have girlfriends and all that stuff, but it was really interesting putting the poll out there from like both of our experiences and what we have talked about before, and then putting an anonymous question box out there and seeing the responses we got were super interesting, and definitely what we're going to be talking about a lot today is just reading those and kind of discussing them. But it was really interesting when we were reading them. We were like, yeah, like maybe some of them we related to, maybe some we didn't, but we both have talked a lot about how we had a hard time with girls growing up. And I was actually right before this, me and you were talking, and I was like, it took me so long to get to the point that I am in this year to be open to having more girls in my life, because I went through so many hard times when I was younger, and then I started therapy and I literally pushed everyone away and I like started fresh, and we'll dive into that, but like probably throughout as we read them. But it is interesting to see the experiences a lot of girls have had with girl groups.
Yeah, it's true. And that's the thing. I think that because we asked for people's experiences, a lot of the negative stories came out. And I mean, that's okay. That's what happens. And I honestly think that that's why a lot of us can relate to not necessarily having a girls group. And I mean, on my poll, it said that 68% do not have a girls group, which that was a total of 72 responses. I got 72 people saying no, they don't have a girls group. And so I think that's a lot of people. And then 34 said yes, they do. So that's a 30%. So I mean that's a pretty big difference for not having some. Now the people that do have them, that's awesome that they've found that, but I'm also curious, like, what does that look like now?
Yeah, and I actually did a post recently that was like, if you haven't found your girl group, like comment on this. And I got a lot of people saying like they haven't found their girl group, and I thought that was super interesting too. And that's just like that poll on our stories that we put. There's so many people that don't have a girls group.
No. And on a lot of the things I've noticed too is that, I mean, people have a lot of bullying that happens with girls groups and girls. And I mean, when you're in middle school, elementary school, and then even high school and into college, I mean, we're all so immature. And I mean, yeah, like we have moments that we've all been a part of it. It's part of growing up. But I think that those moments in time definitely reflect back on people, and it just has a bad taste in their mouth about it. So when we ask people about their experiences, if they were like ever bullied, or like if they were bullied about how they dress from other girls and stuff like that, and people on my poll said, so it was pretty interesting. It's about 50-50 on the thing. So 54% said they had been bullied for how they dressed, and then 46% said they do not think they had. And so it's 51 votes and 43 votes. 51 votes for yes, 43 votes for no, they have not been bullied. So that's pretty interesting too, because I was looking at some of the responses and I was like, I'm shocked because I see their styles. And I said this to you, I'm like, they're so cute. Why would you be bullied over that? And I'm like, well, maybe that's why. Like, you look at me, I've definitely been bullied by girls for how I dressed. And now I make sure to have my style collected at all times because I don't ever want to go through that. And so it's kind of interesting how those things affect us today.
Yeah, definitely. I have too. I think girls are just, a lot of times too, you'll find, at least for me, looking back on the people that have pulled, it's them pulling me down because they're insecure. And that's where I found, like, at least from my experience, was that's where usually the negative comments came from. And it's, of course, different for everybody, but it is interesting when you kind of have the opportunity, like once you're out of the situation, to step back and see why somebody treated you that way, like the reasoning behind it.
All right, so I'm going to jump into some of these anonymous responses we got on people's experiences with girls growing up and just in general. So we'll start with the first one. It says, I have trust issues towards girls since elementary school. Later, the girls told me that they were bullying me because I was too pretty. I had never said that or think that about me. Like, this stuff sounds like a movie, you know? Like, you're too pretty. So I'm going to, like, that's a real thing. People get bullied for being too pretty. Like,
I think something really interesting on that too is the trust part, because I feel like that's something me and you have talked so much about, is the struggles to trust a friend when you do have a relationship with them. And like, I literally called you like, what, a week ago, and I was like, I'm realizing I'm having a trust problem because this is right about the time I've in my past been treated bad by friends. And it can come out in so many different ways, and like it makes sense.
And you
Like
don't know it until you're in the moment with it. It's like you didn't realize that that's something that was going to be a problem.
Yeah, totally. And I can see that. It's like, yeah, if someone treated you bad because of that, then you are always like have that in the back of your head. You're like, is this next person treating me bad because of this or because of that? Like, what's the reason behind it? And you start to not really trust people because you're scared to let them in because you've been hurt before.
All right, next one. It says, it's hard for my girl group to get together in person these days in the busyness of adulthood. What has been an obstacle in someone taking leadership role in organizing the get together, which 85% of the time has been me. I am fatigued of the responsibility, but I cherish this friend group. That's a whole different perspective where all the work is on you now. You are part of a group.
That's super interesting. I feel like that's such a hard thing to do too. A lot of times once it's fallen on you, it's like, okay, how do I take this step back and how do I find that new balance? And it does become exhausting when you feel like you're the one always planning things or always reaching out to the group
and
or
if
always
it
trying
doesn't
to make happen
unless you do it kind of a thing. And then it's just kind of like this never ending.
Yeah. And I feel like there's so many ways that you can like, I'm trying to think because I definitely have been in those situations where like maybe it wasn't a girl group, but it was like a friend where it's like I was always reaching out. But it is a really hard one to change. I'm trying to think, do you have any tricks for that? Like on how you can get somebody? I'm just trying to like.
I mean, I think honestly, you just have to like reach out to someone and just be like, hey, would you mind helping me out with this or planning or like having someone schedule the next one? Like being,
yeah, that's a good idea. Being
hey,
like,
the next girl group is in a month. Would you mind taking charge of this? And like being in charge of it, I can help, like kind of help delegating that maybe. I mean,
yeah.
That's
and maybe even just bringing it up. I feel like I'm such a like be super honest with the people that you're like really close with, and maybe even just sitting down at your next time you're at one of your things that you plan and being like, hey guys, like I mean, no, like I don't want this to be a big deal, but it's been really hard for me. I'm just like really exhausted and I can't, like would there be a fun way for us to all kind of like plan things so it's not always on me? But I feel like you obviously want to go about that in like the most like casual, like I feel like you don't want to put too much pressure on it so it doesn't become a big deal, but also like open up that door because a lot of times I think people don't notice, and once it's already a habit, they're like, oh, she's gonna plan it, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really important too that if you are just now starting a girl group or it's just kind of starting to be a thing, making sure you set those expectations up in the beginning too, because habits form and people start to get reliant on that. And so it's really good that people understand from the beginning of what's to be expected, that everyone should participate. It's not just on one person to be in charge of all of the get-togethers and whatnot.
Yeah, and there's going to be times when it's going to be more one person than another, but I feel like if you sit down and you talk about it, that can help so much.
This one's really interesting. This one's kind of intense. It says, in my opinion, most girls are two-faced to have a healthy relationship, or they're too sensitive. I've also find males that I tend to hang out with more are more logical. In my experience, girly girls overthink things so much that they turn dark. That they take a dark turn, sorry.
That is an interesting one. And I feel like it really depends who you're surrounded by. Because I think when I was younger, I definitely had experiences where the girls I was surrounded by, I was like, I look back and I'm like, why did I surround myself with those people? And I think it really takes the time of like stepping back and bringing in the right people, bringing in the people that, like aren't two-faced. Like, like I feel like that it's like, you don't want to put that on like just everybody because that's not everybody, but it is, I think, hard sometimes when you're like attracting those people and you start to feel like you don't even know you're doing it. I did it when I was younger. Like I was attracting the same kind of friend over and over and I was like, wait, once I stepped back and really recognized it, I was like, this is not the kind of friend I want to be attracting, but why am I attracting this person? And that's when I took like a whole turn of like why I was attracting that person. But that is an interesting one.
I find it interesting too that they say that girls are two-faced. I think that it really kind of depends. Like I think about how in college when I first went to college, I was very much like coming from a tomboy friendships and like I was just not very like girly girl too. And so going from living in a house with brothers and then having roommates of girls that were all very girly, like one worked at Nordstrom and was a stylist and they all just I wore snapbacks and big t-shirts. It was just kind of a thing. And then I remember they told me, Haley, you should curl your hair. You'd look so cute if you curled your hair. And they just kind of helped me find my style a little bit. And then the day I took my snapback off, someone asked me out on a date and I was like, what? And I'm like, I don't know if that's coincident or not, but they're like, Haley, don't wear the snapback anymore. And they're just slowly like, they were trying to help me. But like, I look back and like, they definitely helped me find my style, but then I realized at the same time they were, I don't know, I feel like I kind of lost sense of who I was at the time
I
because
think
I
that
was,
happens. I kind of think that happens though when you're trying to. I don't know because I feel
I
like I
know.
saw that
And
a
so I
lot.
think it's
Like
just like
you're,
your environment. Like I don't blame them for
yeah,
that, but like
yeah,
I was
yeah,
just like finding out who I am. But then, I mean, over time, I look back and I definitely like I started going on more dates and I definitely like things changed within me. And I realized that from an outside perspective, it probably came across that I could have been two-faced. Like I was this person that they believed I was, and then once I started going on more dates and I didn't really hang out with them that much anymore, and they just probably were like, "Wow, like where's your loyalty at?" kind of a thing. And I like told them like I apologize for all that stuff, but that's I think where the bad reps can come from too, is that people make mistakes and then there's never any closure for it. Sometimes you don't get that, and so they have this bad vibe within them about people and how they change.
yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of times when you're noticing it is when it's somebody that's like going through, like you said, like at that time you were really figuring yourself out, or like there's times like that for sure. We all go through times when we're figuring ourselves out and trying to figure out what we like. And then I also think it comes from those people that are super insecure and putting it, like they're not confident enough to not be two-faced in a way because they're trying to fit in any way they can.
Okay, right here. I found that I really desired to have girlfriends, but oftentimes would lead to them being petty, nasty, or mean. I know not every girl is like that, but when it happens often, you get burnt out and put a wall
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
true.
Ask
Yeah.
Haley how high my wall was when she met me.
I knew she had a wall up. When I asked her all these questions, she's like very short in their answers and just like, I'm not letting you in. I'm like, I'm gonna figure her out. I'm gonna
But
make her. I'm gonna break that
that
wall down.
happens. And I think that's not talked about enough and it's not recognized enough that it's okay to have those walls. And if you're ready to let people in, step back and figure out like what kind of people you want to let in, who you're letting in, because I didn't just let anybody in when I was ready. Like once I really restarted, like I didn't just let anybody in, and that's why my wall was so high, because the right people, like you said, like you really worked to get like to know me, and that's what I needed to be able to create the right friendships at the time that I was looking for. And I think it's so common that you put these walls up because you've been hurt before and you've been talked to mean before, something's happened and you trusted someone and you've jumped into a friendship, and then all of a sudden you're like, how did I get here and what happened and why are they treating me so bad? And this wall just slowly starts to form because of those situations.
It's true. Yeah, and I mean, like I've had tons of situations where I would like open up to someone and who I thought would be like a friend, and then I find out that they were talking trash behind my back about it, and it's just like, are you kidding me? And so naturally those things like happen where you I want to have like those girls groups, but like I don't think that's in the books for me, at least like until
I feel
I've learned to work more through those
yeah, yeah,
emotions. And
totally.
maybe you don't be so open and like about that stuff in the beginning because you've been hurt and there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that.
And I think there's some people like in maybe it's like some you have those certain friends you're really deep with about certain things, and then some friends it's more surface, but you hang out with them and like you go to dinners or something like that. And I think it is true, like you said, like maybe right now is not the time for you to have like a girl like that kind of group, but maybe in the future. And like you never know when those things are gonna come about and like when you're gonna meet the right group to like click with or go in with. But it is really hard because I think a lot of girl groups are already like established kind of too, and you're not like gonna walk into a new girl group and be like, hey, I'm just like joining your girl group. Like like I mean, I think that's why like we have a lot of friends that are not connected. Like we have a lot of girlfriends that are all kind of separate because like we all haven't found our girl group, but we're also not all a girl group. Does that make sense?
No, that makes total sense. On this next one, someone shared, I've noticed how media and movies today portray women against each other, like in movies and TV shows. I don't feel like we've had a fair chance from the beginning.
That's
You know,
super
it's really,
interesting.
I've noticed that, like in Gilmore Girls, I was talking about earlier, there's like this natural default to hate a girl if she's hanging out with someone you're dating, and it's like she has no reason, you have no reason to believe that like they've been loyal or whatever. Like it's just like pinning girls up against each other, or wow, she's like so pretty, and kind of like what that person said, she's so pretty, like hating her for what she has or what she wears, or she's smart. It's like there's like really low blow stereotypes that you see, and so it kind of like that stuff influences little girls. Like they see that, and I mean, yeah, I could see how that could affect us for sure.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm trying to think, what about like Gossip Girl? Like that is a clicky cliquey
I haven't
group
seen
of
it.
girls. Oh, okay.
I've started it, but it was like one of the shows that I didn't like sit down and watch. It was on the
Yeah, yeah.
background, which was
I haven't watched it
stupid.
in so long, but I do remember it being pretty like you
Oh,
were
yeah,
like
it
in
was
the
like
group or like you were not in the group, and it was even if you were
well, that
in the
rem-
group, you were talked bad about, and like it did
yeah.
show that. Like it showed girls talking bad about each other and being mean to each other and treating each
Well,
other
like you
bad
think the
and
girls in the bathrooms, like they go to the bathrooms, and the mean girls are always talking trash about the other girls, and you have the situations where there's a nerdy girl, and then like the in the movie Mean Girls, all the cliques, like it's just like how the movies are, and I mean, obviously, not all of society is like that. Like, you don't go to, I don't mean, for my high school, it was not like there were cliques for sure, but it wasn't like the popular girls were like walking down the hallway all like thinking they're hot stuff. Like, no, they didn't do that. But it does create this mindset in within us, I think, that we may not know about that puts those feelings onto other women that we just are like, oh yeah, I need to be weird about it or worried, you know?
yeah, I could definitely see that. There's so many different shows out there that could definitely portray that and get in kids' heads, and then you kind of start repeating it without even knowing, I'm sure.
All right, we'll do one more. This one says, happened recently. Best friend of 15 years started hanging out with someone new. Left me out completely and would talk about me behind my back and told someone I knew she would make sure I never had any friends. We live in a very small community, so now I find it very difficult to make girlfriends.
What is wrong with people? Why do people think that's okay to treat people like that and talk about people like that? That comes from that girl being insecure that she's her friend, her old friend is going to come in and maybe mess up that friendship or go make another
Totally.
friend, and she doesn't want her to be happy just because she's like distracted with a new friend or something like that. I feel like that's like what makes sense in my head, and like who knows, but like it's just so crazy that somebody can treat somebody like that because that is so not okay.
Well, and it's like, what purpose does that serve? Like, I don't know. All right. So, what I'm going to say for everyone that has been hurt from a girl group and doesn't have a girl group or wants to be in one, whatever it is, we're going to form our own. All right. Bailey, we're starting a girl group. We're getting a band together.
Yes. That's what we're here for, though. Really, like that's what we want to do is connect with you guys and make you feel like you have friends and you can come and talk to us. And we all have different groups of friends, but to be able to have like other kinds of friends and come to us for different things and chat with us and listen to our podcast. And I feel like I've heard so many people say like, listen to your podcast makes me feel like I'm talking to my friends and things like that. And it's like so nice to hear that because I feel like it can feel so lonely. Like it really can.
It really can. And I mean, we'll treat you like first class. Like you'll be our first class friends, okay? You will have no worries or whatsoever. It'll be all good, and we'll have no toxicity whatsoever. And we will end that real fast if that happens. I think it's so cool though that we find like these people who are really in search of a girl group because I see so often, like you said, that you posted a reel that people haven't found their girl group, and there is something so special about having a sister like friend and being able to talk about everything and anything without judgment or worrying that they're gonna go and tell that to someone else or stab you behind the back, just that authentic quality friendship. And I wish that we could provide that for everyone because it's literally, what is it, once in a blue moon. Like I feel like they're so hard to find, but they're out there. They really are.
They really are. And I feel like it took us such a long time. We've talked about that on so many different podcasts, how we've had hard time with friends. And, reading these stories, like it is so hard to listen to them. It's so sad that so many people have gone through similar things. But I love that people are able to share those stories and be open about it because I think even being able to be open about it is taking that step to be able to find the right friends. I feel like when I was able to like really open up about that stuff, it helped me so much. And we are always here if you need to chat. Our DMs are always open, and finding that special friend can really be so hard, but it's, like those people are out there and it's just taking the time to really find those right people.
What's hard too, real quick, before we kind of wrap this up, is that having that friend that's long distance. You and I are long distance friends, and we've really tried to figure out ways to work with that. And I mean, we've kind of our friendship has always been based on long distance. And so we do these little things like when we do the gingerbread house together, and we talked about doing, the decorating pumpkins together, and those little things to get creative. And we definitely want to incorporate that into more of the things we share with you guys can do that with your friends that are long distance or whoever it may be. And we definitely hope that, you know, just because you don't have a girl group doesn't prevent you from having a relationship with someone and a friendship with someone you maybe want to have, but you just don't know how to. So, hey, Bailey.
Yes.
Text me when you land.
On my way.
Yeah.